We just finished working, learning about finding percentages of numbers and taking percents and moving them to decimals and fractions, finding the equivalent. And we were just doing things like, what is 50% of 500? And I figured, you know, that's has no relevance to them. So I thought what we would do today is we would find, I'm giving them a menu, and they're gonna choose what they want to eat, and it's from Asagio's, you know, because good stuff over there. And they're going to find the tax for the menu, you know, how much their meal would cost. I'm going to give them like a coupon, so they have to find a discount, and then they would figure out how much tip they would leave for their server. So I wanted to put some relevance to what we've been learning. The main idea is how to find percentages of numbers, and that percent always means part of 100. So in terms of money, it's always like 5 cents out of $1 or 20 cents out of $1. So I wanted them to be able to make that connection to what we learned in class, to what their parents are doing when they go to a restaurant, or how they can figure out if they want to buy a shirt and it's on sale, how can I figure out how much it's going to cost me? So realizing that what we're doing in class isn't just numbers, it actually has some value to it, and they can use it in the real world. What we did yesterday was we actually made, I gave them an overall overview of what we're going to be doing today, and then they came up with a rubric on how they felt they should be scored for the assignment. And I'm going to have the rubric up on the board for them, and remember, you guys came up with this yesterday, so you said you had to have labels and you have to show your work, so make sure you guys do that for your lesson. And they're actually going to turn in a worksheet to me that shows all their, hopefully shows all their work on it and their steps. And I found that when they come up with the rubric, and we come up with it together, I mean, I always guide them along and try and get in there what I want to, but when they come up with it, or they think they come up with it on their own, they tend to put more value in it and make sure they do it. Like, oh, I forgot I have to show my work. Oh yeah, I have to put labels. We've been doing that maybe about 2 quarters now. So they've really put some value in it. They're getting really good at writing their own rubrics, and then figuring out, well, how does it apply to this new one? Like sometimes you don't have word problems and you just have to show your work. Understanding what needs to go into a rubric and what's considered advanced versus proficient. Like if you want to be advanced, then you have to go beyond. And so they add in things that show that they're going beyond what's asked of them. I always try and have the materials ready for them. It's more accessible to them. Like I have stuff on their desk already when they come in, so they know, oh, this is what we're going to be working on today. I make sure things are readily available to them. And then just at the very beginning, we talk about reminding them what was on the rubric so they know what's expected of them. And then it's just a matter of me walking, maintaining, them seeing me around the classroom, and then knowing that they need to stay on task. So I think that's just vicinity, being near the kids and visible so they know that they're there. So I'll be walking around and making sure that they're mostly on task and figuring out what they need to do. So what I've been working on lately is having the students question each other. And we talk about, well, what would Miss Kato say? What would Miss Kato ask you? And there was like, you always say, why? Prove it. Is there another way to solve it? So that's what I want them to focus on today, because they're actually working together in pairs. So I want them to be able to question each other, not just say, oh, that's your answer. Okay, let me just copy it. Well, how did you get that? Why does that work? Is there another way we can do it? So when they have to present and share, they can work with each other and use those types of questionings that they hear me say all the time, and they can use them with each other. Well, of course, whenever they get to work with a partner or a group, they tend to be more engaged in the lesson. So I hope that that's the case today. Use a menu from an actual restaurant. So I actually had a menu from like a text that I had before, and the food was like really cheap. So it must have been a really old menu. But when we were talking about like leaving tip and stuff, and they're like, yeah, when you're like at a Saggio's, then your server is way better, so you should tip them more. And that just, I was like, I should get a menu from Saggio's. So that's what I did. I just went online and printed up their menu and gave them like a smaller version of it, because if you've ever been to Saggio's, they have like 10 pages of food, which would just confuse them. So I got them a miniature version of an Saggio's menu. So just for them to like choose the food themselves, they get really excited about that, because they kind of have a say on what numbers they're going to use. It's not just Miss Kato says use these numbers and I'm going to add them together. They get to figure it out for themselves, and then they can always use it when they go out with their family too, so they can see the relevance there. Definitely they can find the relevance in it. You know, they're gonna see, oh, I can use this, maybe when I go out with my parents, I can tell them how much tip they should leave, or hey mom, you're leaving too much, or that's not enough for the server. And just knowing that they have a skill that they can use later on, or even, you know, now they're old enough to do it now, and you know, they can bring out their phones and find their calculator and figure it out for not just use the app, but actually use the calculator and figure it out, or a pen and pencil. So even we've been talking about like leaving tip, how tip is a preference of the patron. And most people, like if they figure, oh, 10% is $7.35, I said, do you ever see your parents leaving 35 cents on the table? Like, no, they just leave dollar bills. And it's like, okay, well, even though it's, you know, not 10%, what's a reasonable amount? And just talking about the reasonableness of numbers and going forth that way.